Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see from the title, I am talking about my favorite comedy show of all time. It's called Corner Gas. It is a Canadian television show that ran in the 2000s. It ran for 6 years in the last decade, and it is definitely my favorite comedy show of all time. After I did a couple of rewatches, I couldn't give the title of number one to anybody else. This is definitely my favorite comedy show of all time. And I have rewatched the show now. In fact, I just finished rewatching the show. Um, I think a total of, I don't know, close to 10. I think maybe like 8 or 9. I'm not sure. Pretty sure it's around 9, I guess. And yeah, it is my favorite comedy show, sitcom of all time. It's got no laughing tracks. I want to talk to you a little bit about the show because I don't have anything uh, about the show in this channel, so I definitely do want to have it. And then maybe next rewatch I might do a little bit more things in detail. But uh, my favorite sitcom used to be Friends. I still love Friends. Let me tell you, I love Friends. Um, it is definitely one of the most nostalgic things. Funny because I was in my 20s when I actually watched it. I'm 46 now, but I started watching it when I was in my. I know it came out. It started coming out in 1994, and I was, how old was I in 1994? I was 18 at the time. However, I think I started watching it on Indian television basically around, and I remember watching the pilot episode possibly when I was like 21 or 22. Maybe a little after that. I think I was like 23 or 24, I guess, at the time. Yeah, so I have watched Friends quite a lot. I have the DVDs somewhere over there on top, and yeah, there. And I have seen it on cable many times. I can watch it at any time. But Friends is now my third favorite sitcom of all time because it got overtaken in my rankings by Frasier, and I have Frasier as well there. You can see the big box over there. So Frasier is my second favorite. I remember watching it on cable and I loved it. There were a lot of episodes that I didn't get to watch on Frasier because I don't think they showed Frasier reruns many times, unlike Friends, which they you know bombarded us with Friends quite a lot. But yeah, Friends. When I started rewatching Friends, I think after 2011, around that time, 2011, 2012, I loved it a lot more than I watched it the first time. Uh, the comedy is amazing, so I think I definitely do have to do a Frasier retrospective as well. This is about my favorite comedy show, Corner Gas, and Corner Gas. So like I said, Corner Gas is number one. Um, Frasier is number two. Very close third is Friends, and then it's The Big Bang Theory, number four, and then it's like I'll talk about my list some other time because I keep putting stuff into it. And to be honest, I don't really watch as many sitcoms as I used to. Thinking about shows like what was that? Everybody Loves Raymond is another one. What was the others? Dharma and Greg. Um, we didn't watch too much of Two and a Half Men, but whatever I did see, I kind of liked. And yes, of course, the other one which I haven't seen, I have actually watched more clips of it than anything else, which is basically what's that show? uh, How I Met Your Mother, right? So like that, there are several shows, but this one is definitely the one that is heads and shoulders above everything else. Yeah, and somewhere down the list, I also have another Canadian show very similar to this one, set in Saskatchewan as well, small town in Saskatchewan, which is called Little Mosque on the Prairie, or just Little Mosque as it's shown in some countries, but it's basically called Little Mosque on the Prairie. So let's talk about Corner Gas. Corner Gas, I did not know much about it except somewhere around 2007 when the show was still on the air. And they were talking about that Saskatchewan is now the Canadian center for comedy as such because they've got two hit shows on the air at the same time. And I didn't really know much about it. I just hadn't heard about Brent, but the only actor I'd known Brent Bird is not just the lead, he's also a writer and he's also the guy who came up with the concept, because it's kind of like uh, based a little bit on his on about him, basically his life, with a lot of things actually added for comedy effect, of course. And it's basically just like Seinfeld. Oh, I forgot. Seinfeld is also there in that top 10 list. It's a lot like Seinfeld in the sense that it's a show about nothing. However, uh, it doesn't go into as much absurdities as, say, Seinfeld or Friends does. To be honest, this is a lot more grounded because it is one. There is a lot of outdoor scenes, for example. So, anywho, Brent Butt is a comedian. He's been he's had small roles in appearances in several TV shows that are shot in and on the Vancouver area, The X-Files for one, and several others. The only actor, the two actresses, there was two cast members who I knew about before going in. There's like 8 leads in this show. Is the actress who plays Karen Pelly, and her name is Tara Spencer Nairn. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but Tara Spencer is her first is her name. Tara Spencer Nair. So she plays Constable Karen Pelly, who is a newish young cop, and I have seen her in a movie before this, and I have also seen her before I started watching Connor Gas, and I also watched her in an episode or two of a couple of Canadian shows. So that's there. So I knew about her, lovely young lady at that time. She still is lovely, of course, but so back then I'm talking about. And so when I started doing a little research about the show Connor Gas, I got to think. I think, okay, she's in it. Okay, I didn't really think she was a comedic actress, but let's give it a shot. And then I looked and I saw Gabrielle Miller, who I had seen in, again, a couple of episodes of. I had seen her in a couple of episodes of The X-Files, and in an episode of what was the other show? Cold. I remember her very well for an episode of Cold Squad, which is another Canadian cop show. It's a Canadian cop show basically. Another one of my favorite TV series, which is from Canada. And I remember that episode in particular, which she gave a really good performance, and I just kind of stood out among many guest actors of that particular show. So that was one thing that I actually remember. So these are the only 2 people who had actually known about. Had I checked a little later, there was a television series from Canada which was kind of very popular in the 80s, and I think maybe early 90s, called Street Legal. They did show it in India, but I don't really remember too much about it, because when they were airing it, I wasn't watching television. I would be watching it at another time, so I don't really remember anything about Street Legal. All I know that it was something about a law firm or something like that. Okay, this is going to be in 2 parts, by the way. So that's the only people I knew about it. I didn't know anybody else. But now to round out the characters, you have Brent, Herbert Leroy, who played by Brent Butt, and he is a gas station owner. He bought out his parents, especially his dad, who was the previous owner and running the gas station and small convenience store attached to the gas station, or inside the gas station basically, when the father retired at the age of 66 or 63, so like that. And so he basically is he's like pretty well known in the small little tiny town that they have called Dog River. Lacy Burrows, played by Gabrielle Miller, she's just moved from Toronto to Dog River, Saskatchewan, because she's had a change in her life. So she was supposed to get married. She decided to end the relationship. She was engaged basically, and then her aunt, who used to run a diner in Dog River, passed away. She left the business to Herb, so she thought she'd move to Dog River and run the diner and call it the Ruby. Her aunt's name was Ruby, so it's basically now dedicated to her. So those are the 2 main leads, and of course you've got Richard Henry Hank Yarbrough, played by Fred Ivaniak, he steals a lot of the a lot of the laughs because he's basically playing an idiot. He plays the town idiot. He's really dumb, and he's the town handyman kind of thing. Like he survives by doing a lot of odd jobs. People pay him for certain things, and of course, he's also getting handouts from his best friend, who is Brent Leroy. Uh, so he hangs out a lot when he's not doing anything. Hangs out a lot at the gas station. And the third member of they all study together in school, in high school, is Wanda Dollard, who is the most smartest person in Dog River, and I think she's one of the only ones who actually went to college. She is a very quirky, very smart, know-it-all kind of a person. She is supposed to have. We don't know. They don't mention if she was married, but the father of her child is no longer in the picture. She is played by Nancy Robertson, a very good comedic actress. Pint size, she's not very tall. And after they met on the show, Brent, Butt, and Wanda Dollar did. Sorry, and Nancy Robertson did get married. I think by the time they were in the 5th season or something like that. So she is like the most smartest person in the world, and she works for her former classmate Brent Leroy, and she's got a son who they don't show, but he is mentioned in, like, you can have the after effects of the kid in a couple of the episodes. You've got Oscar Leroy, who plays the lovable crank. Well, he's actually grouchy and a crankpot, and he too is extremely funny, played by veteran actor Eric Peterson. So he used to be on Street Legal, by the way. And his favorite word is jackass. Calls people, including especially his son and Hank, jackass for not agreeing with him or thinking that they're actually dumb, and he is extremely hilarious. His wife, played by Janet Wright, the late Janet Wright. Janet Wright actually passed away after the show. She was not keeping well towards the end of the show, and she passed away. She plays Emma Leroy, who is the mom, who's like basically just going through life, having to have dealt with a cranky old bugger like Oscar. She's also quick-tempered. She is a little bit domineering as well, and she's very strong, by the way. Then you've got Sergeant Davis Quinton, Lord Cardinal, who is very oversensitive. He's played Lord Cardinal is an amazing actor who plays this very endearing, very sweet character, who is the main officer, the highest-ranking police officer in the town. There's only two cops. Nothing ever happens in the town, so who needs cops? And he, is a little lazy. He does sleep a lot on the job, but he is very much fun. He's a lot of fun, and his deputy basically is constable, kind of like deputy is constable Karen Pelly, who's a lot more ambitious, and she definitely wants to do she's career minded and all that stuff. So these are the 8 characters you got over here. A lot of fun, a lot of comedy, a lot of laughs. There were several scenes where I remember the first time I was watching it. The first and second time, of course, I ended up laughing kind of very loudly at like late hours of the night because I was watching it at that time. I couldn't stop, and that's basically the reason. These are the things that I love about the show. It's extremely funny. Okay, I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to shoot a part 2 to it when I talk a little bit about why I love the show so much.